Alex here too. But
Okay.
I'm assuming that Lou will pop in here. All right, guys. Well, welcome in. This is the Sports Show, Bradley Walker. Welcome to the Walker Report of NGSC Sports, guys. Remember the website, it's ngscsports.com for all your current sports content. My partner, guys, was supposed to be on tonight, Craig, but he couldn't make it. We are sponsored by biotropiclabs.com. Head over there at checkout, type in the promo code TWR for 15% off a one-time purchase. Type in TWR with a small s as in Sam. You get 20% off any subscription purchases which includes one additional free supplement. So head on over to biotropiclabs.com. As I'm watching my Clearwater Threshers take a 8-2 lead in the game against St. Lucie this evening. That's minor league baseball for anyone out there that doesn't know what that is. Me and Alec were talking minor league baseball earlier this evening. So guys, I mean, we can go over Wrestlemania. We got Backlash coming up this weekend on Saturday, and I didn't know this either. Did you guys see that SummerSlam is now a 2-night event too now?
I
They
had not
put
seen that, no.
Yeah, they separated SummerSlam into 2 nights too, like WrestleMania. So they're trying to get as much money out of it as they can. So yeah.
Apparently, what I've heard is Goldberg's supposed to return at Backlash after the match between Gunther and Pat McAfee.
Okay, can I just where have you heard that? Is that just internet rumors or is that somebody reputable? I'm just curious because
I've heard it from multiple people within WWE.
okay.
Like higher ups, and they've been floating it around because I think everybody knows now that Gunther's going to be Goldberg's retirement match. And I love Pat McAfee, but I'm sorry, Pat McAfee. I think you bit off a little more than you can chew.
We can get into that. We can get into all the wrestling tonight. I'm good with that because we weren't able to have a post Mania show. What I will say is that I don't know where they're going. Because the idea, to write McAfee off TV for football season makes sense, but football season is still 3-4 months away. So I think Pat's underrated in the ring. I think he can go. I think he can give Gunther a good match. I don't know if he can. I don't know if he'll beat Gunther. But I think he can give Pat. I think Pat can give him all that he can handle. I think it'll be fun. And at the end of the day, when it comes to wrestling and matches and words and junk,
yeah. Hang on, I got knocking at my door. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right,
we'll hold the fort down for you. Well, when it comes to wrestling, it's like I just want to have fun. I just want it to be fun, and I think Gunther versus Pat McAfee. I don't know if you saw the promos that they cut last week on. I think was it on Raw or SmackDown?
It was on Raw on Monday.
Yeah, I think it was on Raw.
I couldn't remember if it was Raw or SmackDown, which brand they were feuding on, but they cut awesome promos on each other.
Now, where do y'all stand with? Is Jay gonna lose to Logan Paul?
I don't think so. Because Jay just won the belt last month, right? He won it at Mania.
Yes.
Okay. I don't think. I think Jay's still too over to take the belt off of him. I don't think. I think there would be tremendous backlash if Logan won the title. I don't think Logan is popular, the way he needs to win. I
Yeah.
think Logan gets too much heel heat to be. He doesn't get the right kind of heel heat to win a title, like a
No,
Dom.
unlike compared to Dominic. That's what I was just about to say. Compared to Dominic.
Yeah, I think Logan's a great heel. I think he works really well as a heel. I think he works better without a belt.
Yes.
You're fine.
And so I think keeping. I don't think he needs a belt to be over. I think people
Could
will.
you
People,
see? Could you see Logan joining Seth Rollins' faction?
I think that would really. I really think that would come down to whether Paul Heyman wants to work with him or not.
Because there's people out there saying that faction's going to expand. It's not just going to be Braun and Seth.
I think Logan could be a good fit for those three or those two.
I'll
I
throw
think-
another name out there. What
Okay.
about Karrion Kross?
I love Karrion Kross. I don't think he needs it. I think Karrion's better as a solo artist. I don't think he needs. I don't think Karrion Kross needs it. Karrion's another one of those guys who has mass crossover appeal. He's big on social media. I think when you have this is my my opinion on guys like Karrion Kross and there was another one who I can't remember now, but guys that are really good that are really good stuff promoters outside of wrestling. That I don't think they would benefit from being in a faction. I think a faction would hold them back, and I think being in a faction, even as good of a faction as Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman are, I don't think it would help Karrion Kross as much as I think it would help Logan Paul, because I think Logan Paul suffers from credibility as a wrestler.
Could you see any of the NXT guys joining Seth's faction?
The same problem I have with bringing in Joe Hendry or bringing in anybody else that's not an established star is that it won't feel earned. I think that a lot of guys need 3 to 6 months, even though the NXT guys already are on brand and they're established guys down in the, but they're not main roster guys. And I think for main roster guys, for a guy to come up and get over as a main roster guy, and this, I guess I have to, oh, excuse me. I guess I'll have to moderate my thinking, because I think of Vince. I think of the old days. I think of guys like Ryback and Dolph Ziggler and
Curtis Axel,
Zack Ryder, guys that came up and got instant pushes and went nowhere. Whether they were dangerous to work with.
And the problem with Dolph was every time they pushed him, he got over. But he very rarely won a title. And then they would try to push him again, and the same thing would happen. The push would fall flat.
Yes.
And so
and I'll give you somebody right now they're trying to do that with, and it's just not resonating with the fans. Look at like Solo. They're trying to push him to the moon, and it's not working.
No, and I think that's the problem, is they try to put him, and that is my point. You bring these young guys up and you put them in big spots with already established storylines, and they feel like an outsider in the story.
Now let's get kind of back on track. Is Solo going to cost Jacob at Backlash?
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
I think Jacob Fatu is starting to become a face, and you can see it. The last altercation with him and Solo in the ring, he said, "I won this belt with or without you, and I can win it with or without you." So I think he kind of stuck it to Solo, saying, "Yeah, you got me here, but I don't need you anymore because I got gold around on my shoulder." So, and we've talked about this, but on our show, and Jacob Fatu is one of the hottest stars right now,
Yeah.
and I have a funny feeling it's not going to be too long before he's in the title, either going after John Cena or going after Jay Uso, who put the title on the line on Raw and won a disqualification match with Seth Rollins. But
because Punk came back and helped him win.
Right.
yeah, and then also too, you guys were talking about Joe Hendry. He has a match with Trick Williams at NXT, and the belt, the TNA Championship, is on the line. It's the first time that a TNA Championship will be on the line at a WWE pay-per-view.
Trick's not winning. There's no way they take the belt off of Joe.
No.
I don't think so either. I think Joe wins that match too.
But I have read reports that WWE, by the end of this year, is going to buy out Joe Hendry's contract from TNA and bring him over to WWE.
And if
about
they
that?
wanted to do that sooner, well, would you let a let me throw this out there. Let's say TNA has a deal in place with the WWE. Let's say, just for round numbers, $5 million. Let's say they're gonna give. Does TNA let their belt end up on NXT?
I
Do you
not likely, but maybe.
do you see TNA WWE merging in the near future, within a year?
I see that because who is the director of authority in TNA?
Not sure. You'll have to.
Bradley, why don't you tell them?
Isn't
It's not
it?
Bischoff. It's not Bischoff, is it?
No, the name is right there, and I can't think of his name.
Santino
Morella. He's the
Morella?
one. Yeah,
Way!
Yeah.
Shut the
Yeah,
door.
he and you know what? Honestly, he plays that part so well. He wears like
Yes,
a
he does.
fat
Uh-huh.
does it so, and he'll come out and announce matches, and he's hilarious. Like, he'll come out after a match and go, and next week we're gonna have you and you in a match next week, and then the crowd goes nuts because it's what. Yeah, Santino Morella. His face, my brain is not. I'm just, as I told Alec earlier, I'm like, I am so like out of whack today because I wasn't sure if I was getting any shows today, and I come home, everything's working. I'm like, oh crap! Like, I don't have any notes for anything. I'm like, all right, I got to get everything together. So, but yeah, it's
That's
would they
awesome. I did not know that.
would they want to have the TNA? Because I know they've partnered up. So I'm not sure how
Right.
much longer you're going to see TNA, because NXT is the up and coming, as we all know, is the future of the WWE. It's
Yeah.
Trick.
Well, it is, and then you got the guys that are on like LFG and Evolve.
Ring of Honor, those factions,
Yes.
those things too. So yeah.
So my thought, what I was thinking is, I wonder if TNA becomes kind of like a SmackDown to NXT, as opposed to being like where you have crossover. And I wonder if TNA is going to be fully absorbed, but like how, and be their own brand, like SmackDown and Raw to TNA maybe.
Yeah.
And what I'm thinking is, then you could have Trick Williams win the belt off of Joe Hendry, and then Joe Hendry gets the call up to the main roster.
That's a
I
good point.
I didn't think of that angle.
Because Joe is so over. I don't know if there's a more over star in the history of over stars.
And the only reason he's over is because of his theme song.
Can-
Yeah, that
Which
theme
one
song
is
is
that?
so freaking over.
I'm gonna
Which
say
is-
something. I wasn't watching WrestleMania, and Alec texted me. He goes, "Randy Orton's on the ring." I go, "Okay." So he's got an open challenge, right? And he goes, "It's Joe Henry." I go, "No way, no way, it's Joe Henry." And I go back and because Adam had said something earlier that week, like it's going to be Joe Hendry, and I'm like, why would it be Joe?
No,
Dude, I was like,
I think I was the one that said it.
yeah,
Wait,
somebody said that it could be Joe Hendry taking that challenge
And
from
then
Randy
you know
Orton.
what? After it was over, Randy came out and said in his like press conference that he handpicked Joe Hendry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Joe Henry is on the come up, and I think before too long he'll be on the main roster.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
Feuding with
And
like Randy Orton, The Miz,
Yeah,
Carmelo Hayes.
Well, let me
Oh.
ask you this. I know Joe is hot right now, but if you were Rick and you're Oba Femi, would you be kind of a little pissed that he got moved up before you? I understand. I'm not disagreeing with it. I would love to see Joe in the WWE, but what I'm saying is, as your Trick and as your Oba Femi, would you be upset if they moved him up before you guys? Because you're in an
I think Trick.
Like we're supposed to have. I don't even know if I'm gonna take
I think Trick is going to get called up at some point. I think maybe this is the way they send him to the main roster by having him lose to Joe Hendry.
Mhm.
And then
Okay.
maybe his first feud on the main roster is rekindling a rivalry he had in NXT with Carmelo Hayes.
yeah. I think from the standpoint of the business, like I think you have to be, yeah, you can be disappointed you didn't get called up first, or you had to wait a little bit longer. But when it comes to the business and understanding the business, it's nothing. It's never personal. I think you can't hold grudges. I think you make yourself. I think if you hold grudges or if you're insecure about the fact that you didn't get called up sooner than somebody else who may not have been there as long, when they're as hot of a star, just have to understand the nature of the business.
Yes.
Some guys just get called up a little bit sooner. And the wrestling business is different than any other sports entertainment business
Yes.
because it doesn't, if a guy, but it really it isn't that much different than like minor league baseball. If you've been playing minor league baseball for 3 years and you're still only hitting 224, you're not getting called up, as opposed to a guy who comes in and is super electric and super over with fans and hits um and hits 280 290 and hits bombs. He might strike out a lot, but he hits bombs. As you just have to know that your time's gonna come, and you just got to keep grinding.
Yeah.
I mean,
And Oba Femi, I don't think he's ready for a call up yet.
Sure.
I think he still has some. He's a good in-ring worker, but the issue with him is I think he needs more mic time.
and I've been watching WWE off and on for 30 years now, and I've watched so many guys get called up too soon who weren't ready. I think there's a prime example being Ryback. Ryback wasn't ready for the big time. Well, we can look at Ryback and the rest of how many of the Nexus, that the first NXT challenge crew that came up because WWE was trying to breathe new life in it, and Wade Barrett and Daniel Bryan were the only two that really had. I know some of the other guys had some, they had their moments, but like Heath Slater was always a jobber, never a star. Go ahead.
Jinder Mahal.
Was Jinder Mahal a part of that first NXT crew? The Nexus?
No, but he was part of 3MB with Heath Slater and the name's on the tip of my tongue, and
Yeah,
he's in the fatal 4-way. And he always cries and complains when he loses.
Oh, that narrows it down.
Yeah.
Yes, McIntyre.
Okay.
McIntyre.
And I feel like Drew, when they first called him up, I feel like he was not ready for the big time. And I've seen and heard rumblings and rumors that they're going to put him back in the WWE title picture. What has he done to earn that?
Be a whine ass.
Exactly.
Yes,
He's done nothing. All he does is whine, complain. Yep. And then the other thing I've heard is they might eventually put him in the faction with Seth.
I don't like that.
I don't either.
I think he works better feuding with Seth and Punk. I'm not a Drew guy, but Drew is.
I was when he first came back up to the main roster, but now I'm not. He's just, and I'm sorry to say this to the McIntyre fans that are out there, he's unbearable to watch.
It's unbearable to listen to.
Every time he gets on the mic, he whines. And Jimmy Uso absolutely owned him on the mic.
Well,
telling him he sounds like somebody's ex-girlfriend.
Well, the thing that bothered me about what and I get it's a work. I get it's not real. Like it's all, we have to suspend our disbelief, right? But the thing that he did that pissed me off the most was the bracelet storyline. I just
yes. That just just give him the freaking bracelet back. You don't need to be stealing people's bracelets, Drew.
No.
Right. And it was a bracelet his wife gave him, for Christ's sake.
With his wife's name on it and his dog's name on it.
Right.
His dog?
Yeah. She made him like a friendship bracelet with her name, and it gets at AJ Lee, and I forget their dog's name. And he was wearing it to the ring. And Drew McIntyre took it off of him and was wearing it around for a month and a half, 2 months?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Before he fed it to him.
I tell you who does deserve a title shot again.
Who's that?
And they're going to get it down the line. I think it's LA Knight.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he'll get a big title shot.
I think he kind of knew that he wasn't going to win at Mania.
Right.
He's just like, because Jacob's over. And I don't think LA needs title. My thing is not to switch up, but what are they going to do with Rusev?
Well, I was thinking about Rusev and Aleister Black. What are they going to do with those two?
I've heard that the Wyatt Six might go after Aleister Black
That could be fun.
and I know this
Love
is
that.
totally different company, but for leaving the House of Black.
Black.
Yeah, I don't know too terribly much about Aleister Black, and I don't remember Rusev. So, everybody going crazy about those two coming up was like, okay, I don't really know anything
Well,
about
and
them.
then you got Jeff Cobb, who still has yet to debut.
Okay.
And then you got all the guys that are out injured that are supposed to be coming back, like Bronson Reed, Ilya, which they're throwing those names around for being in Seth's faction. I
Yes.
can't see that with Ilya.
No, I think Ilya wins the IC title next.
I
What do
do
your
too.
guys take on Braun Strowman getting released?
Hmm.
Well, it's funny that we bring that up because I saw something today. They released him, but they said they might bring him back in a couple of months. The reason they released him, one, money. If you look at the
yeah.
highest paid guys in WWE, he's one of the highest paid people. And he has to have, I believe, back surgery. And he is, in one of his legs, he's 12%, I think they said paralyzed. Something, it's
From
either
what?
paralyzed or plasma from like having surgery on it.
Oh.
And that's what the one that got me, and it's the only real tag team they have in the women's division. Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. What are they going to do with the women's tag team titles? Like, that was your only real tag team you had in the women's division.
Mhm.
And then there's two others that didn't make sense to me. Dakota Kai and Shayna Baszler. And people were saying, oh, they released Dakota Kai because she's injury prone. She always gets injured. And who was the other one? And then one of them, I think, was starting at OnlyFans. And trying to become the next, I guess, Mandy Rose. And I'm assuming that's why she got released. But
well, I think the thing that gets, when you get released, it's not like you're being executed. It's not like they can't rework a contract and bring somebody back.
Yeah, they did it with Dakota Kai twice, and same with Tegan Knox. I think these wrestlers that, other than Braun Strowman, who they said they might bring back, these other wrestlers will find another company to latch on to. Maybe even, and I know we don't really talk about AEW. Maybe some of these people will go over to AEW.
That's always an option. AEW, New
And the
Japan.
problem is there. You're just going to get stuck in the mud like you did in WWE.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the women's division over in the other company in AEW, it's stacked just like it is in WWE.
And I think that therein lies the rub, is that there are so many stars that are so over. Wrestling is super popular again.
Lyra, for example. I don't think Becky's winning on Saturday.
Probably.
If she does, it's probably by DQ, because I don't think they want to take the belt off of Lyra this early.
Maybe not.
Right.
But then I've heard people say, oh, there's a story there for Lyra if she loses to get the title back. Becky doesn't need to be near a title. I'm sorry. I used to be the biggest Becky Lynch fan. Not anymore. I'm not saying she's unbearable to watch, but it's a little irritating watching her now. Just like on SmackDown, trying to
Yeah.
watch Nia or Chelsea Green.
I never liked Nia.
I don't know why they bring her back.
And I agree with you. I don't think Becky needs a title. I don't think she even needs to be in title contention. She's just so over.
Well, and then the fact that she
Yeah.
turned heel on Lyra. I have a sneaky feeling on Saturday that Bailey's going to return and cost Becky the match.
I like that. I like that a lot. I agree.
Yeah.
Those two are rivaling.
Because if my memory serves me correct, I'm pretty sure Becky is the one that hurt Bailey.
Mm-hmm. I think that sounds right.
So Bailey comes back and cost Becky the match, and that's how they start their feud. And then Lyra could go do something with somebody else.
Right.
Maybe we see a crossover and Lyra goes to SmackDown and feuds with maybe Tiffany Stratton. Or do you bring Chelsea Green over to Raw? Even though Chelsea Green's annoying?
Well, we all have our problems.
You could,
Yes, that's true though. But this whole thing she's got with Alba Fire and Piper Niven,
Yeah.
how long is it before those two turn on her?
Oh, I don't think it'll take long. They are a bit of rivals, aren't they?
Alba used to be in a tag team. I don't see it lasting long. I think one's gonna turn on the other at some point.
Oh, hell yeah.
When there's a title involved, look what happened when Seth was in his first faction with the Shield. What caused them? What caused Seth to turn on the Shield? It wasn't a title. It was Triple H.
Mhm.
But what many people don't know, do y'all know the original plan was for Roman to turn on the Shield?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
read
Roman
that.
said,
No.
no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So then they had to go to plan B, which was Seth. And to this day, you know the only person that has never turned their back on Roman Reigns.
Dean
And
Ambrose.
I don't count the whole thing when he had leukemia. That was him turning on Seth,
Yeah.
not Roman. To this day, he's the only one that has not turned his back on Roman. And people are like, oh, he's coming back. He's coming back. I don't think he is. One, he's already came out and said in an interview that he never wants to come back to WWE. And two, he's under contract with AEW till I think 2027. And not to say that he can't sign an extension with them after.
I thought I heard that he had signed an extension. He signed a 5-year contract with them last year.
I think you're right. I think he did. But then again, we said the same thing about Punk. And what happened? Punk came back. So
Well,
I
I
would
also-
say never, but this one I think is unlikely.
I would say this is highly unlikely that Dean burned his bridges. You say he never turned his back on Roman, but I mean he kind of did leave the whole company, so kind of turned his back on everybody.
Yeah, but that was the old regime, though. That was his heel run was supposed to be better than it was, but of course, when Vince is in charge of booking at the time, he's the one that ruined that entire heel turn. And I'm sorry, his heel run was unbearable to watch. Like it was it was misery watching his heel run. That's
Well,
like, and I'm sorry to say this, it's the same way about Cena. I cannot watch a heel Cena.
oh, he's been brilliant as a heel.
Right.
Okay, what do y'all think of The Rock in his little interview he had on the Pat McAfee show the day after Mania?
Huh.
Didn't see it. You'll have to fill me in.
Yeah.
He basically said that he didn't have to be at Mania because he didn't want to steal the spotlight from everybody else.
Of course.
And he's like, oh, Cena's doing a good job. Okay. You're the whole reason Cena turned heel. Travis Scott has no reason to be in WWE. And it's funny to me that they're trying to make him a wrestler.
I think he's just another celebrity crossover like so many others. I mean,
Logan Paul.
Jake Paul.
Jake Paul. Shaq.
Gronk.
Gronk.
Right.
Well, and then
Yes.
Gronk tried it for a little bit before he went back to the NFL.
That was a
You
joke.
might- That was WCW though.
No, Gronk was WWE during the pandemic.
No. Mike Tyson, he was WCW.
Oh yeah,
Or WWF. WWF. I'm sorry, WWF. My apologies.
Mike Tyson, Donald Trump, Muhammad
Yeah.
Ali. I mean, celebrities in wrestling is nothing new. I mean,
no.
you know, and I think that heel Cena in the ring might be 10 years too late, but heel Cena on the mic is
Okay,
everything.
yes, heel Cena in the ring is a little too late. Heel Cena on the mic is a whole different.
Brutal in the best possible way.
Murderer.
Even though Cody kind of cooked him on the mic in their
Cody
promo.
You know, I think Cody held his own. Cody did what he needed to do.
Yeah,
You know,
and I
Cody,
think, and that's the other thing I've heard is Cody might be coming back at Backlash. But do we think it's too early for Cody to get his rematch?
I think, yeah, I think so. I think it's too early. I think SummerSlam would be a good spot for it. I think
Yeah.
Orton Cena
And
needs
do you have Cena lose at SummerSlam and realize that The Rock was manipulating him and then turn him back to the good side?
Nope, I have seen it
Because
right
that's
away.
what I've heard people are saying is the first half of Cena's farewell tour is going to be him being a heel. Then SummerSlam, after SummerSlam, they turn him back face. In the second half of his run, he's a face. And then he retires at the end of the year.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Is that what I want to happen? No. I like heel Cena. I've wanted heel Cena for a decade. And now I've got heel Cena. I don't want to give him up. He's my new shiny plaything, and I want to play with him.
He's your new shiny toy.
Yeah.
I feel like the Rock didn't have to get involved in this. I feel like you could have turned Cena heel organically and not get The Rock involved.
I like The Rock being involved. I like The Rock.
Do we believe though that the final, because he said on his interview that the final boss character is done? Do any of us believe that?
No, of course not. I mean, you can say whatever you want to say.
Yes.
I mean, Bret Hart was never coming back to the WWE.
After
Bret came back.
They
I
choked
mean,
after the Montreal
after the
Screwjob.
Montreal screw job. Yeah, after the Montreal screw job.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that, yes.
One of the most famous screw jobs in WWE.
Brett screwed Brett.
But it's to
Other than
see,
the heist of the century.
to see him spit on Vince McMahon was funny. I thought I'd throw that out.
Oh, it was. I think it was great theater. No, I will. That's a hill I will die on. Brett screwed Brett. Brett was leaving WWE, and he had the belt, and he wasn't gonna drop the belt, so they took the belt off of him. Brett screwed
Yep.
Brett.
Exactly.
That's how I
The
see it.
hill I won't die on is the fact that the Judgment Day is still together. I don't understand why.
Because there's only so much TV time, and breaking them up means that they each have to get an individual time.
Yes.
Well, I
then what are we
don't know if any of you watched Raw. I know Bradley probably watched the highlights.
Yeah,
And I
watched the
didn't
highlights.
catch this till the other day. Finn was apparently talking to Roxanne Perez. Like maybe they're to maybe plot something to get the tag team titles off of Liv and Raquel. Because as we all know, Finn does not look happy in Judgment Day right now.
No, because Dom stole his
No.
title.
Yeah.
No, no. Dom won
How
the title.
do they, I'm not going to say break up, but how do they split up this iteration of the Judgment Day?
Okay. Let me throw it back at you. Do they? Do they break
Yes.
them up?
Yes.
And not to be a dick, but why? Why do they break them up? What?
Because Finn is better as a singles competitor than he is in a faction. And
do
I
you
think they might try to give Finn, and I know I might
Another-
sound crazy for this, another chance at winning the world title. Because he never got a proper world title run the first time because he got hurt.
I would like to see them bring back the demon.
I would too, and I don't think in the Judgment Day they can do that.
You see, I think if they brought back the demon, they could have him face Aleister Black.
I wouldn't mind that match at all.
I think I'd love to see Aleister Black versus Penta.
Can I say something? Can somebody
Oh.
please check on the Miz?
No, we try not to.
Alex, we
God.
hit him on this show too, so don't worry about that.
Right.
Unless I have to think about that miserable so and so, you know what?
It's so and so.
Better.
There's a reason I'm saying it though. He got his head absolutely
Take
kicked off by Aleister Black last Friday.
Okay, I missed the SmackDown recap this week, so I missed that.
I was laughing my head off when I saw the highlights. I'm like, thank you, Aleister Black.
Yeah, I've never liked The Miz. I've always thought he was an insufferable twat. And
he is insufferable. Very.
And just because you have a hot wife doesn't make you a good person.
That's
no,
right.
and it doesn't make you somebody that can skip the line for a title shot.
I think,
and I think that goes back to what we started with. And I'm sorry, Brad, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'll let you go here in just a second. But when we're talking about who can come up or who's going to come up, from NXT or who might come back from Ingram. And I think the biggest problem for bringing a guy up is them cutting the line for a title shot.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Braun Breaker's an exception. Braun Breaker's just a freak athlete.
Yeah, but I think, but Braun's been around for a year, year and a half, 2 years now,
3.
3
He
years,
spent 3 years in NXT.
and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but has Braun ever had a title shot yet? And I
He
mean, like,
won he won the Intercontinental Championship from Jay.
okay, but that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? I don't mean to get all
Yeah,
whiny
he
in
won.
here.
No, you're good. He didn't skip the line. But
No.
here's the thing. You don't want to get in Braun's way when he's revving up
Ask
the
Carlito.
engine. Yeah, ask Carlito what happens.
Carlito feels like to be speared like that.
He did. I saw the replay of it. Braun Breaker, when he speared Carlito, he did a back a front flip.
Yeah. He landed front flip, landed on the ground, and then front flipped and landed back on his feet. How hard he and to get back to the Miz, I was just watching stuff on YouTube Shorts. LA Knight put it to the Miz perfectly. He's like, you came on through the WWE through your reality show, and you weren't even the star on that show either. So how in the hell do you expect you to be a star here? And like he mentioned
You
something about, he goes,
can't.
you have a hot wife doesn't mean that you're a great wrestler. You
Yeah.
know, there's a lot.
And you know
like
what? LA Knight has some good roast on the
Oh, yeah.
on the mic. He's got 2 with the Miz. That one, and then when he said the Miz, he says he tells Miz it's okay to cry, but when you cry on repeat,
It's not cool.
No.
You know who? LA Knight, when he first came up, I was not an LA. I was not an LA Knight fan.
Neither was I, because he was Max Dupree.
And I have a problem. I have an issue. Any kind of the same vein as the Miz with the arrogant putz character, the so much better than you. Was his name? Was it Elias? Was it the Elias character? And they would come out in the bathrobe and wax poetic every night.
I think with Elias, who's now Elijah in TNA.
Yeah.
And he would no, it was Damien Sandow. I'm sorry.
Oh, the stunt devil.
He wore that stupid ass bathrobe and he came out.
You know what? I gotta give him credit though. He played the stunt double role to a T until he finally turned on the Miz.
You know, speaking of turning on the Miz, does anybody know if R-Truth knows where he is?
No. I don't think Truth knows where he is.
Talk about checking in on a guy. No, I love R-Truth though. R-Truth.
I do too. He's a national treasure.
I wish him and Santino Morelli could work together for a year.
Oh my God. I can only imagine those two together. Oh my Lord.
I wish they weren't older guys. I wish Santino could still go. I wish they could both still go. Put those two together as a tag.
Truth does have some matches, but I don't think Truth knows where he is.
No.
And there's people throwing the idea out there that maybe he helped Cena win on Saturday.
That would be hilarious. I would die. That would be excellent. I want him to bring back
a heel R-Truth, which the last time we saw that was 2011.
A heel R-Truth, but funny heel R-Truth will feed families.
Yes, for generations.
That's generational wealth right there. But
the thing is, this Truth didn't realize that my childhood hero is not a good guy, and I shouldn't be.
He can't. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I don't mean to be a dick. But
no, you're not.
But I love the idea of R-Truth playing it straight. that no matter John Cena can't do no wrong. In his eyes, John Cena is perfect. John Cena is a god. John Cena is his childhood hero. No matter, I personally, I want him to play it straight. Just play it flat and play it like he's played it for the last 10 years, where everything going on around him doesn't matter. It could be the apocalypse, the seventh horn could sound, the fourth seal could be open, the fifth rider of the apocalypse on a pale horse could be galloping
Zombie apocalypse is on its way.
out of Gorilla, galloping down from Gorilla, and he's just so oblivious to everything that it doesn't it nothing at all. He's too literal. He would catch it. Nothing goes over his head. He's too literal. He would catch it.
Look at his interaction with Priest when Priest first was on SmackDown.
Well, when he thought he was a member of Judgment Day.
Yes, he thought he was a member of Judgment Day, and Priest kept trying to tell him that he wasn't.
I loved. That's the only time I've ever really thought The Miz was worth watching, was when he was paired with Truth.
Oh, my favorite thing is when he called Triple H Tommaso Ciampa.
And that means
That's when
That means Nick Aldis was
That's when
Johnny Gargano when they announced the new tag titles.
the new tag titles were in there. He's like, it's Tomorrow Ciampa, and Triple H is like, what are you saying to me? Your boss, dude.
And you could tell Triple H was trying so hard not to
break
laugh.
Oh yeah. Actually,
How many times do you think Truth has, or Sami Zayn, or any of these guys that can make people break character? How many times do you think they made these people laugh?
All the time. That's what. That's the whole.
Like Sammy when he was part of the bloodline. The whole he's not acting very oozy.
right.
Well, I think that's the one thing. That's the one thing about a comedy character versus a comedy gimmick. Like a comedy character can be really good and can be done really, really well, and it can flop. You can have a comedy character, but and then you have comedic gimmicks like the Honky Tonk Man or go ahead. You got one?
Or before they left, the Revival.
Or the New Day.
Their whole thing with the Usos, that whole feud they had, the Usi Hot.
And then you have the other
The
side.
New Day. The New Day.
You have things like the Goblin Booker, the Spirit Squad. The things where comedy.
Oh God! Don't get me started on the Spirit Squad.
We'll be here all right.
Oh, they were just. I could not take watching them. They were.
Oh, they were awful.
They were annoying.
They weren't funny.
No.
They weren't talented. They like a comedy character can work like an R-Truth or Sami Zayn.
Yes.
Or even a Santino Marella, where the comedy is played for laughs, but the wrestling is still real. And whereas with characters like the Gobbledygooker, who is just a giant turkey costume, it doesn't work. The Spirit Squad doesn't work because everybody knows.
I have another one for you, Constable Corbin.
Oh God! Well, him. He didn't work.
No,
Corbin didn't work.
What gimmick they tried with him, it didn't work.
He never got over, and I think they were. I don't know if he had like dirty images of Vince in his briefcase or what he had on Vince, but everything they tried with that guy never worked. Whether they tried to do a silly character like Constable Corbin, or they tried to do a
Or
serious character,
Happy Corbin.
that was terrible.
Yeah.
About the only thing they didn't try was just Corbin. Well, let's just go out there and be yourself. Just
Exactly. I think if they would have tried that, it would have worked. Because
it
don't
might
get me
have worked.
wrong, he had a whole lot of talent in the ring.
Mm.
He could put on good matches with anybody. It was just his gimmick didn't work.
It never stuck. Oh, you know who had a brief
Yeah.
oh god, I can only remember him as the Funkasaurus, but I can't remember his real character name.
Oh, Brodus
Funk-
Clay.
Yeah.
He's
Uh-huh.
political. He's political now. He's on a political show now.
Yep. Yeah, he crossed over, he went to do politics but I liked Brodus Clay. I thought he was fun.
I
But
did too.
But I understand why he never got over. Like he was just too silly to get over.
Yes.
Now, what did the New Day deserve to win the titles at Mania?
No. I'm a hard no on that because I really think they did Big E dirty. And
I say no too, for the exact reason you said. And I think they're ducking the War Raiders because they know if they face the War Raiders again.
Have you
they're
seen
gonna-
those dudes? I duck them too.
Yeah, they're I don't think they're humans.
Look, he's like, I'm like this tall, and he's like this tall. He way the fuck up there.
Well, and you know what?
my-
I was watching. I don't know if y'all have heard of Chris Van Vliet. He interviews
Oh
all.
God, Van Fleet, yeah, he's
He
amazing.
he interviews all these wrestlers, and he was
Uh-huh.
interviewing. I think it was Eric from the War Raiders the other day, and I was watching it, and I didn't know this. Eric got in a motorcycle accident.
Mm-hmm. A nasty one too, from what I understand.
Yeah, and it was like he couldn't feel his hands. No, he
What?
was injured very badly. And then they were telling the story at one point of he had a match with him and Ivar had a match with, I don't know if it was a New Day back when they were faces. And he took a nasty spill outside the ring and couldn't feel his legs. And he tried to give the X to tell the doctors he was hurt. And then he lost feeling in his arms. We understand that wrestling is scripted, but injuries like that, that's not scripted.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I kind of think that's, I thank you, Captain Obvious, but I jest. I think it, for me, the thing that the phrase that I've fallen into, or the term that I use is staged. It's staged. It's a performance. It's not fake, but it's not real either. Like the punches are supposed to miss. The kicks are supposed to miss. You swing the chair. There's a technique to swing the chair where you minimize the damage. But then again, sometimes you miss, and somebody gives you a receipt. You hit. There's a very famous. I think it was Braun Strowman. It was either Braun Strowman or it was Braun Strowman. He gave Brock Lesnar. He caught Brock Lesnar with an elbow. I believe it was an elbow, and caught him hard, square. And Lesnar got up and gave him a hard 1-2 and a knee. And it's not so. It's about respect. I think the big thing in wrestling is respecting your opponent and knowing that you have to you have to trust your opponent. And that's why the Miz, or not the Miz, I'm sorry, CM Punk didn't want to work with Ryback. because
Yeah.
he didn't respect Ryback because Ryback was dangerous. Ryback, whatever how you pronounce his stupid name, baby back there, baby back bitch there. He was dangerous, and he was unsafe to work with. And I think I think at the end of the day, we're wrestling fans. We know it's a work. We know it's staged. And the best part about wrestling is when we can turn it off, and we can be like, man, was that staged?
Yeah,
That
go to WrestleMania 40. The
Mhm.
Roman and Cody, no, 41. WrestleMania, I believe it was 41 when Cody won the title. That entire match, all the returns, like The Undertaker coming in and choke slamming The Rock, John Cena coming in.
Yep.
Coming in. And not to go back too far, but Elimination Chamber. I think we
Mhm.
all knew that Cody was going to say no to The Rock
Mhm.
because he's already, and I kind of figured that he was going to say, I sold my soul to the wrestling ring and all of these fans and the
Yeah.
company.
Yeah. And I think you can accuse Cody of many things, but you can't accuse him of not being a company man.
No, you can't. And then The Rock says that, oh, Cody is going to sell his soul down the road to me to join my faction. I don't believe that.
I don't know about that.
I think that's the business. I think that it keeps us tuned in every week. It keeps us invested.
See, the
It's
problem
real Cody
with my
selling his
thing
soul?
with Cody, he's too over with the crowd.
Oh God, yes. No, I
And
don't
if
think
they
Cody.
turned him heel, everybody would turn against him.
I think they have. I think there's a way you can. I'm not a script writer for WWE, but I think there's a way you can do it where it will work. I think I think I'd
I
be.
like this arc they're trying to write with him, the whole Homelander. Like, if
Mm,
that's how you want him to be heel and still be liked by the crowd, I'm all for it. But
I
you
think
can't turn him heel fully.
I
Yeah.
think he can be a great character, a day walker, if you will. Neither good nor bad, just in it for himself, in it for the business. But I think
Or for example, look at Braun Breaker when he first came up. We all thought he was a heel. Then we thought he was a face. Then we're like, oh no, he's a tweener. He's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy.
he's in it to make
Yeah.
money. He's in
Right.
the business to do business. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. I say it's a sport. You
Now,
say it's a
I have
business.
a question for everybody. Do we see
Okay.
Randy Orton punt kick John Cena on Saturday?
I say
Ooh,
yes.
I'd say
I
yes too.
say I say yes. He punt kicks him into an attitude adjustment. Cena picks up the victory clean.
Yes.
Hmm.
I
Okay.
think
What's that gonna
Cena.
be?
I think because I think you build this thing going to. I think because who else is there for John Cena to face next? He
Punk?
hasn't.
Yeah.
Maybe no, because I think Punk and C. Well, I would say yes. I would agree with. I could see that happening if Punk hadn't have returned and interfered with Seth.
So
And
you
had
think
or
Punk is going after Seth and Seth's faction
yes, because
with
that
Sammy and Jay
yes, because I think that makes in
and that
terms of
mystery third man on
yeah.
Seth's team, which we have absolutely zero clue who it is.
Joe
And
Hendricks.
there's the outside chance. Could it be Sammy? And he's just
It,
playing everybody?
I mean, I didn't expect I didn't expect Paul Heyman to need
Can
nut
I
job.
take who's the one that said it on the pre-mania show? Watch out for Heyman to help Seth win.
No, you called it. I'll really admit you called it.
Yeah.
But I didn't see him giving. I thought Seth could win. I really thought Punk was gonna win. I thought Punk was gonna win because Punk is so
Yeah.
over. Punk is so big right now. Everybody loves CM Punk.
I don't.
CM Punk has made a believer out of me. I was not a Punk guy. I didn't care what he did.
I was until he left and went to AEW. Then I'm like, okay, he's gone. He's never coming back. And then that whole thing with Jack Perry over in AEW just it made me a fan again because I'm like, he did nothing wrong. He was trying to
No.
tell Jack Perry that you
No.
don't use real glass.
You don't use real glass. You don't get rental cars. You know, I don't. Was it? Did he do an interview? Did he give an interview with Chris Van Fleet too? I know I
Yes,
saw him.
he did, and he went into detail on that whole incident with Jack Perry.
Because Jack Perry wanted to use rental cars. He wanted to rent cars, and I forget who else it was. There's another guy
It was
involved.
Jack Perry, CM Punk, and I think it was FTR, Cash and Dax.
Or it may have even been MJF, who was.
Yes, it was. Which he's
Who-
another punk.
I can't
No
stand him.
pun intended.
Mhm.
All the pun intended. And he was telling that story about how he wanted to use rental cars. He wanted to use real glass and real rental cars. And Punk was like, "You're gonna F it up for everybody. You are going to make it so the wrestlers can't rent cars, that they can't get, deals, and this is a bad idea." And he was like, "Well, if you don't like it, there's the door." And Punk said, "Well, I guess I'm using that door." And he left.
And you know what the funny thing is? Jack Perry has not been back on TV since that incident.
I did not. I don't watch AEW. I actively avoid
I
watching.
watched the highlights, but he was back for like 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and then they wrote him off TV again, and he hasn't been back ever since. The only reason I watch AEW is because I met one of the people that's in AEW. I met Samoa Joe a couple of years back,
Oh, Samoa Joe's pretty
and
cool.
that's one of the only reasons I watch that show is because of him. If you ever get the chance to go and do like VIP and meet the wrestlers, highly recommend it. I got to meet him. I got to meet Naomi. And this is Naomi before she was a heel. And I got to meet Jinder Mahal.
Oh, okay, neat.
And when I tell you, Jinder Mahal,
Right.
he's no small human being.
No.
You think he looks on TV, you think he looks small? Standing next to him,
Oh.
I'm 6'2". He made me look like an ant.
Like Hornswoggle.
That's another guy that got over because he was
just having fun. I think that's when a comedy character can get over, is when they're having fun.
like
You know.
Truth.
Yeah, exactly.
His whole okay, so what is everybody's favorite R-Truth moment?
Don't make me pick amongst the children.
Right.
Anybody can go first in no particular order.
Winning the 27 title.
Yeah, I'll go with that one. I'll go with that.
When he tried to enter the Women's Royal Rumble.
No, that's another one. Another one.
Yes.
There's another one.
And then, no, this is like 1A and 1B. The other, when he came out and was trying to, when they were doing the lead up to Money in the Bank, and he came out and he was like, "I
I
can't wait."
have a fear of heights.
Yeah,
And Roman and who was it? Roman, Kane, Randy Orton, I think Cena. They were all standing in a ring trying so hard not to break character.
Wasn't
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan there too?
Yes. They were all standing in the ring trying not to break character. And Kane just out of nowhere says, Truth,
You're not
you're
in
not
the
even in the match.
match.
Well,
I was gonna say about John Cena's match and rivals, and it's too bad that he's in AEW now, and he's my favorite wrestler of all time, and that's Edge. That would be a great
Oh.
because of the rivalry between Edge and John Cena through the year.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, Edge is in AEW now.
And he goes
And-
by Adam Copeland.
Copeland.
Adam Cole.
I don't think Cope is going to make it. That would be cool to see him, have
One
one more
last
match
time. It
before they both hang it up. Yeah.
I mean, maybe WWE can make an exception and say, look, we want one more match with Cope and Cena. And then you could take Cope back. But it's Tony Khan, so I would not. I would say
Yeah.
that's very unlikely.
That's the problem right there. It's Tony Khan. Because
And I think
Yeah.
the thing about trying, even if with the TNA stuff and the handshake agreement and letting people cross brands and work each other's shows, it's one thing. But AEW is still trying to find their footing, even though it's 6 years on since they started. AEW can't afford to let their big guy go back to WWE for one night for a one last hoorah with the old crew, because it would just be
Well, and you know what I've heard is that Jericho might come back to WWE.
Uh-huh.
no. I've heard that too. And if Jericho came back, and he could work a program with Cena, and they could
Did
work
they ever have a rivalry, Cena and Jericho?
kind of like off and on early in Cena's run, like in 2004, 2005.
You know what? Let's get to our favorite Cena feuds. Is that okay with you, Bradley?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay, mine is when he had the feud with, I think it was Triple H, and at the time Lita was Triple H's girlfriend. Cena,
Wasn't he?
Cena was just
I-
cooking both of them on the mic. He's like,
I'm pretty sure Lita was Edge's girlfriend.
it might have been Edge and Cena.
Yeah,
If Bradley, I think you know what I'm talking about. When Cena was calling Lita I'm not going to say yes.
Yeah. There's many clips of that. Because Cena was in.
The doctor. My favorite gimmick that Cena did was the Doctor of Thugonomics.
I think he was during that time with the whole thing with Lita and Edge.
Yeah,
And then his whole feud with Kurt Angle.
yeah.
That was a classic. When they did the rap battle.
Mm.
And Angle was trying to act like he was a rapper, and
Well,
or when he had his feud with Big Show and he was roasting Big Show.
Who was it Edge and Cena was the last man standing match where Edge threw him through the light? Or is that the Big Show and John Cena? What match was that? John Cena got
was it JBL?
maybe it was somebody.
I think it was
somebody.
JBL.
Yeah.
I just saw it was JBL and not just because I was looking up at John Cena versus Jericho, because they did face each other a couple of times when they were both on SmackDown early in like 2004. And then I saw JBL versus John Cena in an I Quit match, and I think that was through the light. I think that's when he threw him through the light.
That
I
was
was
a good. That was a good little feud. JBL and Cena.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with the other one. I'm gonna go with the I guess the most I would consider the most obvious one is Randy Orton, 2009.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do y'all know the roles are reversed now between Cena and Orton? Orton is the face, and Cena is
Yeah.
the heel.
I
But
think
the
by the
question is, how long is Orton gonna stay face for?
I think a heel Cena, heel Orton would feed families for generations.
I agree.
I'm
I
all in on
don't mind Randy as a face, but I like him better as that cocky heel.
the the Legend Killer. If he
Yes,
brought the Legend Killer gimmick back, and
like he did for the pandemic when he was just
Mhm.
running roughshod and punt kicking everybody,
and
whether it be
everything.
Christian, Edge, Daniel Bryan, Big Show. It didn't matter who it was or if you were retired, not retired, he would punt kick you.
Speaking of Big Show, he's on AEW now, isn't he?
Yes, and he goes by Paul White.
That would be if I could have one more match for Cena, it would be Big Show. If I could get one more match for Cena, it'd be Show.
I don't think Big Show wants to get back in the ring.
And I know it won't happen, especially since he's over working on another company. But if we're talking about fantasy
Last
booking,
time I checked, he was. I don't know if he's still in AEW. He might be a free agent. But then again, I don't think Big Show wants to get back in the ring. I think his in-ring days are done.
Yeah. No, I know. I know. I obviously
it's just like the people that say, "Oh, Kane should come out of the mayor's seat and have one more match." No. He's done. Shawn Michaels is done. Triple H is done. Even though people want Triple H to have one more match, that's never going to happen. Triple H has had his heart surgery.
The other one.
Forget it.
The other one who's done that everybody wants to see come back is AJ Lee.
You know, I think that's a little more likely than the other names we've talked about. They floated it around at when Punk was having his feud with AJ Lee. No, with Rollins. When Punk was having his feud with Rollins. Because Punk at one point said, "Becky, you better come get your man, because if I get him, he's not coming home." I'm pretty sure I can see AJ Lee coming back at some point. What about, do you think Paige is going to come back? Because there's been talks.
I think she does come back.
Paige I could see coming back, but AJ Lee won't be coming back. She's retired. She's medically retired. That's why she walked away in 2015. It's because she wasn't physically cleared to wrestle anymore.
So did she have the same thing that like Daniel Bryan had with her neck?
I think it was a leg thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think she's coming back.
She's so stupid hot.
She is.
She used to skip to the ring. That was the cool part. She used to skip around the ring. Yeah.
I remember the old days. It was Paige, AJ Lee, the Bella Twins, Alicia Fox, Naomi, Cameron.
That was the Divas division type of thing.
Yep.
Prior to
Charlotte Flair when Charlotte and Becky when they first came up.
Bailey, all of them that came up.
I miss the original Bailey character. The the hugger gimmick.
The hugger section. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was her best gimmick. I like the role model gimmick, but I think it's run its course. When she comes back, they need to try a new gimmick with her. I like her as a face, but I feel like she's better as that cocky, arrogant heel.
Yeah.
You
was
were
the
right. Just to, she did have neck injuries.
Okay, that's what I kind of thought, is she had issues with her neck.
Between that and CM Punk quitting.
Now, here's another one. Do you think Daniel Bryan ever comes back to WWE? Not as a wrestler, but to go to accept a Hall of Fame invitation.
And if AEW implodes and he can patch things up over at WWE and they offer him a spot in the Hall of Fame, I think he'll come in and
I
accept it.
think he's already patched things up. It was with Vince that he had issues with, not Triple H. Because at the end of his run, it was Vince that put him in that match with Roman and had him lose.
Well, if I had a nickel for every guy who had an issue with Vince, we'd be doing the show in person and not
Yep, we would.
four separate.
Vince was a hypocrite.
You know, I think Vince was a victim of his own success. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I
He
think
was.
outside of all the sexual misconduct and allegations.
You know what? I'm going to say this. I watched the documentary about Vince on Netflix.
Yep.
Oh, it was excruciating to watch. All the people that came out against him and were doing interviews on the documentary on him and how bad he treated everybody. I'm glad he's not in charge of creative anymore or in the company.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think
creative in the booking now. I know there's some people that say, "Oh, it's just as bad as when Vince was in charge." No, it's not. It's a lot better.
Well, they also smoke a lot of crack, so you know.
Exactly. And we don't get the one thing that really got on my nerves with Vince is it seemed like every Monday and Friday when Vince was in charge of creative, we got the same matches over and over and over and over again, just on repeat.
From 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Never a good sign.
Well, I was watching. This would have been late 2019. It would have been December 2019. I was watching that episode of SmackDown. I hadn't watched a match of SmackDown in years. I thought, oh, what the hell? I'll throw one on, and we'll see what happens. So, I'm watching this episode of SmackDown, and I don't remember who Daniel was facing. I know it was Daniel. It might have been Happy Corbin, but it was Daniel Bryan and somebody. It might have been King Corbin. It was Corbin. I'm pretty sure. And they had this great match. This is just an excellent match. Just high flying, lots of energy, great moves executed, great match. Somebody came out and interfered. Match is almost over. Somebody comes out and interferes. They chase them in the back, and they get into a fight in the backstage, ring the bell, disqualification, nobody wins. And I'm like, I saw this all 20 years ago with much better talent. And that's the thing that I will say about the Triple H era, is that Triple H understands that wrestling has to reinvent itself every 20 years.
Yep.
And that's what Vince was so great at. And the stuff that was working in the 60s and 70s was not working by 1985. So he did something different. He invented the pay-per-view. That ran its course.
Right.
And those guys weren't getting over anymore, so he reinvented and he brought in guys like Lex Luger and changed the business again. And then that didn't work, so
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
that's the next phase, the Attitude Era. We brought in guys like Austin and Taker and Kane and that was the area
Macho
that
Man. The Attitude Era was the best era of wrestling.
Macho Man was more 80s, early 90s. Macho Man, Jake the Snake,
Hulk Hogan.
Roddy Piper. When those guys stopped being over, they got new guys. They got Stone Cold came on, Kane, Taker,
Kevin Nash.
DDP, Kevin
Ric
Nash,
Flair.
Big Daddy Diesel. So those guys, and then that wasn't over anymore, and he reinvented
What
again.
about like the Boogeyman?
The Boogeyman's late 90s. Yep. But and you had
He
great.
was one. I have to say this. He was one of the freakiest characters in WWE.
We also had guys like Goldust and
Cody wrote it. Well, Goldust, Stardust.
yeah,
Goldust is another comedy character that actually worked.
Yeah.
because he played it so straight. He didn't play. I think comedy characters can work the best when you don't play them for laughs. And I think that it's a rule of
Yeah.
comedy is you don't laugh at the joke.
Mhm.
You can't laugh at the joke. Otherwise, the audience doesn't find it funny. And so when Spirit Squad is out there doing their shenanigans and everybody's laughing at them, that's when it doesn't work. Is when the fans are laughing at you. When they're laughing with you, with like guys like R-Truth or Goldust or Santino Morelli, Hornswoggle, you guys are the crowd is laughing with them, not at them, and that's the big difference between comedy characters that work and comedy characters that don't work.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Look at what is y'all's favorite Goldust moment?
Mm.
Mine
don't really
is
know if
when
I-
he was doing the like the stuttering gimmick.
Mm,
Every time he'd talk, he'd like repeat the same word over and over again, and he'd stutter.
mm.
I don't know if I have a favorite Goldust moment. I'll give you a favorite Dustin Rhodes moment, and it was an AEW match against Cody. That was I forget, was it
Yes.
at 2014, I think was the match. No, sorry. It was recent. It was like when AEW first
21?
started. But it was
'Cause-
Cody and him, and Cody goes, I don't need Goldust. I don't need my dad. I need my big brother. And that's when they embraced
Yeah.
each other. They beat the hell out of each other in that match. Cody and Dustin beat the hell
Mhm.
out of each
Okay, I have a question to throw around. Does Dustin Rhodes ever come back to WWE?
Nah, that bridge is burnt.
Nah.
I would
At
love
all.
it. I'd love him to come back as Goldust one more time, and have a go with Cody. Have him go with Cody as a face, as the big man on campus. That would be a dream match.
I don't.
I think-
If he ever does, I don't think it's going to be as Goldust. I think it'll be as Dustin Rhodes.
And if he came back, I wouldn't accept him as anything other than Goldust. I would boo Dustin Rhodes. I'm sorry. Goldust is one of the greatest comedy gimmicks of all time. He's
Better than R-Truth?
Did I say better? No, I said one of.
Okay.
Goldust is one of the greatest comic gimmicks. And Goldust, his antics, his
Okay. My other question is, where would
Okay.
you put Gilbert?
Oh, I hated Gilbert. I was so anti Gilbert. I was a Goldberg fan, and I found that whole thing insulting. I was like 10 or 12 years old when that thing hit, and so I was so offended by it. My righteous indignation would never. Well, I would never, because I was a huge Goldberg fan. I was a huge fan of the spear. I thought Goldberg gave the best spears. I thought Goldberg was a great character.
You know what? Honestly, he still does. Roman Spears weak.
Yes.
I think Braun Strowman gives a better spear. I think Braun Strowman. If
When Braun Strowman gets going around the ring and that circle thing he does, watch out.
I think Goldberg has the best in-ring spear.
Yes, in-ring
I-
spear, yes.
I think for me it goes like just general all-around spear. I think Braun Strowman is in a league of his own. It's just his own thing that he does, like the ring, the around the ring, from behind, from backstage, a full head of steam. It's a spear unlike any other.
Yeah,
But I think
if you see him coming full speed,
get out of the way.
yeah, unless you want to be on the tracks. Just ask all the guys he's done that to. I don't think they've recovered.
Yeah. I still don't think they've located all of Carlito's body parts.
No. Or Braun Breaker's another one where he gets going around the ring.
Braun Breaker. That's who I meant. I meant Braun Breaker, not Braun Strowman. I'm sorry. I was wrong.
When Braun Breaker gets going around the ring,
Yeah.
get out of the way.
I think Goldberg gives the best spear in the ring. And then I think it's Edge, and I think Damian Priest gives a really good spear.
He does. Where would you put Roman? Is he?
I would have to know who all gives the spear, but probably 4 out of the 4 guys that we mentioned so far. Because yeah, I think Goldberg gives the best spear in the ring. Like, it's just
My
so
favorite finisher is the jackhammer from Goldberg.
Yeah.
When he picks somebody up and puts him in position for the jackhammer, it's over.
I think everybody but Bret Hart likes the jackhammer. Pretty sure that's how that works.
Mhm.
Now, what do we? What's
who
everybody's stance on Gunther? And I don't
like-
care if I'm saying that right, because after what he did to the ring general, he was doing an interview with somebody and they said it wrong, and Gunther's like, "That's not how you say it. You have to put an emphasis on the general." I don't get it.
Well, I think I think it's the character he's playing. I think that I think a lot of the times when you're playing a character, and you're always that character, no matter whether you're like, the only times you're not that character is when you're taking your first movement of the morning. I think it plays into the mystique of the character, so I won't begrudge him that too much. Like,
No, I respect him, but I don't respect what he did to Michael Cole and Pat McAfee.
No,
because they weren't the ones saying that he tapped out. It was the fans.
I gotta be allowed to do my job, Gunther.
Yes, Gunther.
I love Pat McAfee after everything, and Adam, is it Adam Pearce that's the Raw general manager?
Yes.
Okay, I can never actually, because Nick Aldis is over
That
on.
bald-headed.
I think he does a great job as the GM.
Nick Aldis is the SmackDown GM.
Right. But when Pat McAfee was consoling Michael Cole, was like, "I don't care what happens. We're gonna go back out there and we're gonna do our job, and that's how it's gonna be." And Nick Adam Pearce is like,
Adam Pearce is like, we'll figure out something to do with Gunther.
You guys can
I
have,
give Michael Cole props for going back out there after almost getting choked out by Gunther.
between him and McAfee going back out there both and just doing their job like nothing happened. This is just awesome television cinema, man. So
It is. And you know what? You know another commentator that's really growing on me? He's on SmackDown. Joe Tessitore.
I love Joe. Always like he's Friday night fights. He was the voice of boxing for me growing up.
I've heard
Mhm.
that. I've heard that.
Wade Barrett,
I could take or leave Wade Barrett. He doesn't grate on me. I don't love him. I don't hate him. He's okay. You know,
I'm
if I
in the
had,
middle. I don't like him. I don't hate him. But I
Yeah,
feel like could we ever see him get back in the ring?
no, I don't think so. I think
Because at one point they were floating the idea of having him come out of retirement and fight and have a match with Drew.
No, I think it's a kind of like when Bill Cowher retired for the from the Steelers in 06 and he got the gig at CBS and everybody's like he won't be gone long. He'll be back. And 2009 he'd been gone for a couple years and they came and they asked him like have you ever thought about getting back coaching? And he was like no, not for all the money in the world. It's like I get to be home with my family at 5:00. I get to watch my kids grow up. I go. I have production meetings Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday we have a dress rehearsal. Then we have meetings on Friday and Saturday. Sunday I go do the show, and I'm there at CBS all day, and then I go home. I don't have to be in an office for 16 hours. And I kind of feel like that's the same thing for and he's like, and Cowher was talking about, he's like, I get to be around the game I love. I get to talk about the game I love, and I'm not in it. I'm not stuck in it 16 hours a day. I get to watch my kids grow up. I get to be around my family. I get to
Now,
have.
do you
Eh.
think secretly that Big E's been cleared and he's just not telling anybody?
I'll get to that in just a second because I want to finish up about Wade Barrett. I think once you've been out of the ring long enough, you kind of just you know when you don't have it anymore. And Wade Barrett was never really super over, and I think he's found his home on commentary. He does a very good job. May not be everybody's favorite. He may not be your cup of tea. He's not necessarily my cup of tea either, but he does a good job. And I think he gets to be around the sport he loves. He gets to do something he loves. He gets to make a pretty decent living at it. He gets to go home and hug his kids. Do I think Big E, to answer your next question, do I think Big E has been cleared? Couldn't tell you.
Are the tag team titles up for grabs at Backlash? The New Day, are they defending? Is there a match?
No, they're not on the match card, and they're not particularly happy about it. But I could care less.
Well, no, I mean you were talking, but about maybe possibly Big E being cleared and no one saying anything. My thought is if they were in a match, he screws them out of the titles. He comes back and screws them after what they did to embarrass him. In that New Day celebration, I think it was 10 years of the New Day. Yeah, I mean, I think what's going to end up happening down the road is he's going to come back and screw Kofi and Xavier Woods.
I agree. I can see that happening for sure.
It's just
11
a
to 1.
question of when and where.
Yeah. Well, and then they have one of the hottest YouTube channels out there too, an up, down, down.
Mhm.
Sure,
Yeah.
go check that channel out. They do him here and Kofi do a great job on that channel. Do you real quick before we end the show, do you guys want to go through 3 WrestleManias that you like? We got like 20 minutes to do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Wrestlemanias, huh?
Yeah, I'll mute I'll mute myself and you guys can go. And then when everyone's done, I'll give you my three. I don't
Okay,
know.
Adam, go ahead.
Okay. Number 3, I have WrestleMania 19. I had notes on this the other day. Now I can't find them. Number 2, I have 17, which was the first Rock versus Austin. Just I think for me, it really comes down. WrestleMania is made or lost by the um main event, and both of those they had two of the best main events. And then my number 1 is WrestleMania 3. As I've talked about before on the
That
show,
was a classic.
WrestleMania 3 is the most important WrestleMania. WrestleManias 1 and 2 bombed. They were awful. And WrestleMania 3 had as their main event was Hogan versus Andre. And the rumor going into it was Andre was going to slam that Hogan was going to slam Andre. 90,000 people turned out to the Pontiac Silverdome. And if that one didn't work, if that didn't happen, if that didn't go off, the whole pay-per-view thing, the whole business model we have now of the premium live events as they're called now, it doesn't happen. There may have been better matches, there may have been better storylines, there may have been bigger events. WrestleMania 40 and Cody finishing his storyline. I could only pick 3. WrestleMania 40 is right there for me too. But those 3, I think, are just those are the ones that stick out in my mind. They're ones that when somebody says, "Oh, which WrestleManias do I need to watch?" Or I'm getting into this wrestling thing. Which ones should I go check out? Or and everybody's got to some people are gonna say WrestleMania 6 and and some people are gonna say 17, 19, but for me those are the 3 that I pick as the best 3 that I think have happened.
Okay, my 3 are WrestleMania number 3, WrestleMania 33, because I got to see it in person in Orlando. And I liked it because I got to see, I was right by the stage, so I got to see everybody walk out. And I got to heckle a couple of them. Favorite one to heckle was Jericho. So that's number 3. Number 2 would have to be the WrestleMania where the streak ended.
I think that was 36.
Yeah.
The
Good one.
Undertaker streak.
Pretty sure that was 36.
When he lost to Lesnar.
Mm-hmm.
So 36. And then number 1 was the first Roman and Brock
It was
match
30.
Mm-hmm.
that was not ruined by the heist of the century.
Oh, that pay-per-view pissed me off when he did that shit. Lou, do you have 3? I'll
Well,
go
I don't
last.
know I don't know about 3, but I do, of course, I remember the early years when I paid more attention to it. I think WrestleMania 3 was probably the best one. Next one, I think, was probably one you just mentioned was WrestleMania 33. And I think I go back to the early years. I think WrestleMania. But going back to the original, I think I do like WrestleMania 1. All the hype that surrounded, the first big All-Star wrestling that matches was that. And when I was a kid, and we looked over, all forward to it. At that time, that was the big thing back when I was like, back in the '80s, and we all something together. So I think WrestleMania 1 for me, even though that many thought it sucked, I thought it was just great and fun event to watch. Of course, I didn't know any better, but when you're 15, you think a lot different than when you're, well, 50.
Okay. I have
You get
3. My 3 WrestleMania 28, That was a once in a lifetime. That main event was Cena and The Rock. That was the first that they had for the championship. My second one is WrestleMania 40. How do you not have Cody Rhodes finishing his story against Roman? But it was tough. Between 1 and 2 were tough. Number 1, WrestleMania 30, Daniel Bryan doing the yes chant, beating Randy Orton and Batista in the same beating Triple H to get to that match and then winning the championship. And I think that was the unified title too. He had both belts. Then that was in New Orleans when the stuff was coming out of the ceiling and stuff. You know what upsets me about that? I was over at a watch party for that WrestleMania, and I had a guy bet me $50 that Daniel Bryan wasn't going to win the title. I said, no, I should have taken the bet. I should have taken the damn bet. That pisses me off. I had a 150. I would have won $100, but it pisses me off. I didn't take. But yeah, those are my. Honestly, you can go back and look, and Adam's right. I mean, if you have new to the wrestling world, the early WrestleManias, yeah, and then but there's been, I mean, where would you consider this one that just passed? Would you consider it a good one, or would you consider it a not so good one? I mean, a lot of people said it wasn't as great as they all thought it was going to be. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, because they all wanted like Stone Cold to come back and help Cody retain. And I don't think Travis Scott should have got involved in the Cena Cody match.
I agree. Well, I think when you saw him come out, Bud, you had Travis Scott. They thought The Rock was going to come out. And when The Rock didn't show up, I think that really upset people a lot. Like, he was supposed to be something said that he had a filming thing in Hawaii. And I'm like, and nothing against him.
I don't believe that.
Well, and here's the thing. You can fly on a private jet from Hawaii to was in Vegas and then fly back. It wouldn't be that long of a flight. I mean, I know when you private jet set up landing at airports and everything, but I'm sure if he said, hey, I need to land my plane in Vegas. I've been to the airport in Vegas, land it there, and then I got to take off as soon as WrestleMania is over. I got to get off the ground. I'm sure it could have been worked out. The WWE could have worked it out for him. I don't think that's who worked it out.
I think he was just pulling the BS card.
Well, maybe he'll be at back. What do we? I mean, I don't know. That's the question.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it, but then again, he might wait till like after Backlash to come back. And maybe, do you think we see Cody and Rock have a match?
Maybe.
That could be SummerSlam. That might just be.
Or do you see down the road Rock and Cena having one more match?
Possibly. Sorry.
After Cena realizes what The Rock was actually doing to him. Because there's people online and in the wrestling community that have been floating around the idea of once Cena loses the title, he goes back to being a face. He calls out The Rock and says, I want one more match with you.
They have a rivalry.
They've had a rivalry for a long time. It could happen.
Not?
I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm not saying it will happen, but it could happen.
Dream match.
There's always all you got to do is believe.
Indeed.
Say his name and he appears. I'm just saying, I would love to see that match before John hangs it up.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Cena and Joe Hendry?
Yeah.
Get this. People want Ric Flair to come out of retirement now
No.
and won number 17. They think Cena didn't do it the right way.
No, Rick can't
Too old.
even move. Rick, no. I mean,
When would
They were
did he win 23 that he had his last match?
Yes, and it
So-
was awful.
yeah, I was gonna say you see what he looked like after the match. He was all bloodied and he could barely walk and barely move. No, I mean, he's in his 80s, is he not? In his
Yeah, he last wrestled in 2022. He's
40.
76. Yeah, he just turned
Yeah,
76.
no.
There's just no
Don't
way.
even go there.
And the thing is, I don't get these people that say, "Oh, Rick needs to have one more match to win number 17." First of all, that's not going to happen because I don't think and he's in the other company now,
Yeah,
and I think they have him in like a backstage producer role, which I think is what all these guys that came over from WWE and went over there. I think when they retire, that's what they're going to end up doing.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously I'd like to see Edge one more time. I think the Joe Hendry thing is could happen more than we would see Edge, unless, like you said, Tony Khan lets Edge do it. But then again, like Adam mentioned earlier, why would you have one of your big superstars come back to your rival company, have one good, and it's going to be a banger match against John Cena, and he goes back? Ooh, I don't know how they would react. How Tony Khan and
Tony Khan doesn't know how to use his talents.
absolutely not.
Yeah,
No, he doesn't. Not.
A perfect example. Ask Aleister Black. Ask Rusev. Ask both of them what happened over there.
ask CM Punk.
Well,
Ask Cody Rhodes.
Exactly. There's 4 guys you can ask right there.
and look what's going on right now. He's got John Moxley.
Oh, wait. Ask Ethan Page, who's down in NXT. Ask Shawn Spears.
Yeah.
And ask Ricky Saints. There, I just named you 6 people from AEW. Ask them. They like it better over in WWE than they do AEW because they're actually being used. And they're not sitting on the sideline. What were you going to say, Bradley, about
what's going on right now in current AEW? You have
Moxley's the champ, and he's holding the title hostage.
Well, and it's the same faction, the War Raiders, or I think it's what they're called, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's what
Death Riders.
So they every match that Moxley's in, they get involved, and I think who's there now? Who's going up against him now?
Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe. Well, who was it for Samoa Joe? Swerve. Yeah. So they screwed Swerve.
But there's a theory out there that Samoa Joe might be the actual leader of the Death Riders.
Okay. I mean,
which I don't know if I can see that. Then again, before Samoa Joe got hurt, he was a heel.
Samoa Joe, to me, always has been one of those guys that is
a really good heel.
Well, no, I agree with that. I'm just saying, I think when he was in the WWE, the potential was there to make him a superstar, and I don't think he ever got the opportunity that he deserved.
Cough. Who was in charge of creative when Joe was in WWE?
Vince. I know. I'm saying
Vince
out loud.
Fumbled the bag with him
because Joe is
my
doing very.
My favorite feud with Samoa Joe when he was in WWE was that whole feud he had with AJ Styles.
Mm-hmm.
Their promo battles, the fact that he'd take jabs at AJ's family.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, you want to wrap it up right there?
Yep.
Call it a show.
All right.
Sounds good.
Want to talk show about before we get off here?
Yes, Enhanced Sports Show rolls on Saturday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Number to call is 512-543-4662. I'll repeat that again, 512-543-4662. We'll continue on with the NHL NBA playoffs. We'll also look at the who won the draft lotteries in both the NHL and NBA. Some you might be surprised. We'll continue on with MLB, NFL, UFL, and WNBA with before they start the regular season. We'll even recap the Kentucky Derby as well. Also, your thoughts and comments this week in sports history. The ridiculous time of the week, the feel good story of the week, and it's ladies' night in honor of Mother's Day. So all you moms out there, new moms or moms to be, give the show a call. Don't forget to look us. By the way, we're now on Facebook Live for the time being, at least, so you can check us out on there. And don't forget to like and share the Facebook page as well. So, good night.
All right. Well, like I said, apologizes for last week, and the show did make a change, but I'm not going to get into that on the air. That's not my business to do that. But I want to thank these three gentlemen for making this evening great. We'll be back next Thursday. I think we'll kind of get back to our regular topic type of thing next week. We can go back and review the draft if you want to, even though we probably should have been doing that tonight. But go review the draft and all that stuff if you guys want to. If not, I can make up topics as I go, as I get sports stories in there that are interesting. I put it on a list. But anyway, I want to thank our sponsor, biotropiclabs.com. Head over there. Before we go, thanks to the men and women of our armed services and our first responders. Thank you for doing what you do. We would not be here without you guys. Until then, guys, this is the Sports Show, Bradley Walker. I will be announcing high school football game tomorrow night. It's the scrimmage game. It's a scrimmage game. It's a scrimmage.
Scrimmage. I get it now.
Yeah, it's not the. I won't. That'll be in the fall when it all comes around. Guys, and I'm gonna cut this. I will meet Alec for the first time in person this upcoming Tuesday, as me and him will be announcing live from the UCF baseball game at Red McEwen Stadium in Tampa. I haven't got to meet Alec, so I'll meet Alec on Tuesday. Will be the first time I get to meet him in person. I got to meet Adam, so Lou and Gerald are the only two that I haven't met in person yet. So those are the only two that I haven't met yet in person. But I will get that opportunity. Yes, I will, Lou. Until then, guys, this is the Sports Show, Bradley Walker. Peace.
Good night.
Send it.
I will see you, gentlemen, next week. Alec, I'll see you Tuesday, bud.
Yep.
Get out of here.